And here we are. I can't believe it. This is the Lifelong Leaders Kickoff Call. Thank you so much for being here. I got to tell you, I am jazzed at the response, even over these first few days, about you joining this network. And I want to spend a few minutes just kind of going over my heart, kind of my story that got me here to Lifelong Leaders, and also just to celebrate you for being a part of this. If you've hung out with me at all, you already noticed a couple things. Number one is I got to wear these bad boys every once in a while so I can see very clearly. Second, I do not have ear rings. I've got AirPods. And so that's helping me communicate with you on this Zoom channel. I'm just so grateful for you being here. And if you got any questions, then write them in there as we're doing this live kickoff call. Here we go. So as I go through kind of what I'm thinking with lifelong leaders and your participation and what you want to do, I kind of want to walk you through a set of slides that helps me to better explain this. So let me pull that up real quick here. We're going to start that slideshow, put that up there on the screen. There we go. Now I'm in the little box. Lifelong leaders. Man, what a dream. This has been a dream that I've had for over 20 years. Just the opportunity to create something, to be a part of something that I was in very early on to help develop people in their leadership journey. And the thing that has always stuck with me, in fact, the reason why I call it lifelong leaders is because for me, leadership has been the thing that has, oh man, I tell people it has saved my life. It is the practice of leadership, the learning of leadership, the study of leadership that has given me tools and resources to help me get through the highs and the lows of life. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I was the best way to start that is to say I was born at a very young age, right? I often like to say I was a big baby because I was born on April 27th, 28th, and 29th, but we'll just stop there. But I was adopted as a baby. You can't tell by looking at me, but that's another story because I've just begun the journey of finding out who my biological parents are and those roots. But growing up, I was adopted very early on. And as a child, from the time I was born to the time I graduated from high school, I lived in 20 different places. Yeah, 20 different dwellings of various shapes and sizes. And I went to 10 different schools. That's a lot of effort to get to know people. And my ability to pack up a room is beyond comparison. It is so great. But growing up until that time, until I went to college, I mean, I had just moved and moved and moved and moved. And there was a lot of things with that transitional kind of lifestyle that set me up to have some difficulties later on in life. And it actually wasn't until I got to college that I discovered my first real role model, a guy by the name of Dana Walling, who put me on a track to say, you know what, there's some great things that you can read and understand and people that you can pattern your life after. And they'll be role models and they will help you. And it all centered around this idea of being a leader. And some of you, even in this point in your journey, may go, I wouldn't call myself a leader. But you know what? As we go through this, you are. Now, I wouldn't encourage you to run around and yell and wear the t-shirt. I'm a leader, right? I think that's something that the people who we lead should give it to us, that title, not something we should just go up to them and go, hey, I just want to remind you, I'm the leader, okay? Because I believe the first person you lead is yourself. We'll talk about that in just a second. But on my journey, right, I realized that I wasn't going to get to just a leadership position at some point, but I had to continually invest and learn how to lead me. And as I did that, it helped me to better relate to other people. It grew my confidence. It helped me connect with others on a deeper level because I was learning to lead myself well. And so that's why, throughout my history, I started off right out of school working in the walls of the church and the halls of academia, and then the last 4.5 years, the stalls or cubicles of the corporate environment, right? In all of those different areas. And I discovered quickly that leadership either made or break in the church, the largest volunteer organization in the world, that leadership made a huge difference on how people would get engaged, how involved they would be, how much they would support or not support what was happening in that volunteer organization. In the halls of academia, I understood and began to develop, with college students and their leadership, and then all the research around leadership, and developing tools and resources that they could use as they launched out into their field of study, and the skills that they acquired while they were students they could immediately use as they went out into the workforce. And then, of course, the corporate environment. I had been training students and working in nonprofit and church world for 27 years, and now I'm going to work for Fortune 50 companies like Dell and Love's. And are those principles still true? And you know what? They are. They are. That really at the foundational level, leadership, pure leadership works, whatever capacity you're in, whatever type of environment. That there are definitely tweaks and things you can do, but at this point, that leadership really is something that you carry with you throughout your life, and you apply it in very personal ways. But the foundation, the very simple parts of it, are things that we can learn early on and then begin to mature. So in 2008, part of this dream, I'm still working in academics. I go and I buy the URL. I paid, not thousands, but at least $1,000 to buy this URL, lifelongleaders.com, because I knew for me and my journey that leadership is going to be with me my entire life, whether I'm in a position of leadership or not, that the principles are so important for us. And so I bought the URL. And that's why this last July, when I left the corporate world and I moved back to Idaho and I came and I'm beginning to pursue this dream of creating not only tools and resources, but a community of people that understand that I may be in a leadership position now, or I may not be in a position of leadership right now, but it doesn't matter, because I need to continue to develop my leadership that will prepare me for whatever comes the next thing, and that I'll be ready, I'll be engaged, and it will help me to live a better life. So I would just say it this way, that a lifelong leader, my definition is simply this: someone who takes the responsibility. Because the first question you have to ask yourself is not, do I want to be a leader? The first question you need to ask yourself is, do I want to take the responsibility? And every point of leadership, even the leadership of us, begins with that idea of taking responsibility to navigate toward what's next. It's it, toward what's next. Because you think about it. Well, I guess I would say it this way. I talked to a friend this week who I said, I want to invite you to be a part of Lifelong Leaders. Come on in. And he responded, he goes, hey, I love the way my life is right now. I don't need to change it. I said, that's awesome. I've never been there. I've always had little things that I need to do better at and things different, but I get it. I get what he's saying. And that's awesome, because that's not who Lifelong Leaders is for. Lifelong Leaders isn't for you if you're completely content and you want to stay the same. But lifelong leaders are those who feel it. They take responsibility to begin to move toward that next thing, toward that next goal, toward that next, to realize I've got more potential. I want to accomplish something. I want to make something happen. I've got a dream that's unfulfilled up to this point. I've got something in my family that I want to take us to a deeper level in my relationships. I want us to grow in our intimacy. Whatever it is, you've got some idea of next. It's not that you're not content with where you are presently, but you've kind of got that little bit in you to say, what are we going to be moving toward? And not simply just be comfortable here. Because what ends up happening, right, is if we just stay put, then we just kind of drift. Then we begin to settle so that we can be comfortable. But leaders don't just work toward comfortable. Leaders work through uncomfortable to get to better. And so that's what I mean by navigate. We're going to figure out, we're going to steer the ship. We're going to put our hand on the wheel. That's why I got a wheel hanging on my wall, because that's what it is. I take responsibility. We're going to go through it. And oftentimes those waters on the way toward next are not a straight path, but I've got to figure out through the waves and the bumps and all those different things. So a little bit of background real quick that I would let you know. And so the Lifelong Leaders Path is a way that I found to simplify the first thing that a leader is going to look at whenever they're stepping into a position or they're trying to lead their lives, right? So the interesting thing is a lot of people are individual contributors, and then they get promoted into a new position and they're not quite sure what to do. And they think, well, how am I going to be the best boss in this position? But I don't think that leadership is really tied as much to a position as it is to a process. And if you understand the process, then it doesn't matter what position you're going to go into. You will know right up front what it is that you need to do. So the path is simply this. The first thing, and I use the word life as an acronym for this, is the first thing I always need to do, no matter what the position, or if I'm leading, trying to do something in my family or my home or in my community or my church or whatever it is, the first thing I need to do is to lead myself. The hardest person to lead is me. And so leadership is always going to start with me. It's going to start with what I do and how I lead my life. In fact, it was 7 years ago that I began to see leaders, one after the other, that I was working with begin to disqualify themselves from leadership. And it wasn't because they were bad influences on other people or because they didn't do their job well enough. What happened was they began to sabotage their own life. They began to make decisions about who they were that disqualified them from leadership. I mean, they began to implode because they didn't lead themselves well. They began to make bad decisions. And that's why every single time we've got to consider that the lifelong leader's path is always starts, whatever you're doing, with leading myself. The second one is my ability to influence others, that people aren't looking for a commander these days. In fact, the statistic that blows me out of the water every time I share it with people is in 2018, nearly 42 million people voluntarily quit their jobs. Why? Why would they voluntarily quit their jobs? Well, the overwhelming reason that's given in the work study report from 2018 is that relationship they had with that boss or supervisor. Not only that, but they wanted to grow, but that person didn't give them opportunities to grow. Not only that, but they wanted more autonomy, but that boss or supervisor wasn't able to help them to create more sense of independence and autonomy in that job because of the way it's structured. And so people are quitting because the nature of work is changing, and they're not looking for a commander. They're not looking for a boss. They're looking for people who are more like coaches. And we'll talk more about that a little bit later on. So how are we developing our level of influence with those around us, and not demanding or controlling, but truly influencing them? Thirdly is the letter F, and that's how we take all of the energy in the room, not only our own energy, but the energy of those around us, and focus it toward that next that we're going after. Focus it toward that thing that we are hoping will be accomplished. And I think energy is a more manageable resource in many ways than time, that will actually get more out of people if we can help remove the distractions, help them to focus in the time allotted to do the work they need to do. Then the other things with autonomy and being more independent will begin to take care of themselves. But what we're finding is that people are showing up to work and they're already stressed. They're already drained. They're already disengaged. They don't have the energy. And part of the role of a leader is going to be finding ways to take that energy and to focus it in. The last one on the path is simply this: evaluating progress. If we are navigating toward what's next, which is what a lifelong leader does, then we will have to stop every so often at designated points and evaluate how we're doing. If we have to navigate toward what's next, navigation is understanding A, where you're at, and B, where you're going. And if you're getting tossed about and the waves are rough, and you might get off course a little bit. And so that the idea of evaluating progress is so crucial to the lifelong leader's path. And so for my philosophy of leadership, and when I'm speaking with people, I'm saying, yeah, let's develop this thing called lifelong leaders that we invest in for our entire lives. This is basically part of my philosophy, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. Is we all kind of have an idea and a philosophy of leadership, and I wanted to say that when I'm talking about lifelong leaders, I'm building it off this idea that we start with ourselves, we lead ourselves well, which will be the main focus that we're dealing with as we launch this community, that I'm looking for ways to influence those around me. I'm going to find how I can generate and focus that energy that I need to create and evaluate progress along the way. And some people might say, but there's so much more to it. And I would say, yeah, but I want to start from a place of simplicity. And when I say simplicity, I'm not talking about easy. This isn't easy stuff. What I mean is it's clear. In fact, I would say that there is a simplicity on the far side. We've worked so far on the far side of complexity. And the lifelong leader path is just a simple framework. Yet, in the midst of craziness, it gives us a place to start. And we can mature in this path along the way. And that's why starting off, as I've been promoting lifelong leaders and trying to build this community, the first thing we're going to spend time on is leading ourselves, and leading ourselves in a few different areas. And so what areas are those? When I lead myself, realistically, I'm going to keep it simple, because we need to keep it simple here. The first one is I need to figure out and become more self-aware. I need to begin the emotional labor of understanding what is it when I start to feel those crazy emotions. Why am I doing that? When I have those limiting beliefs, what does that come from? When I respond and react to people in a certain way, how am I coming across? That is so crucial to being able to lead in a variety of circumstances, to look in the mirror and understand who we are. The second thing is our self-confidence. And I believe that this ties in as we learn more about ourselves, that it begins to help us to see what we're good at, and as well as what we need to work on, but we build our self-confidence. It helps us to see the areas we need to push into, and we build confidence as we work through and get those small wins and expand who we are. And then finally is the area of self-discipline, and that's simply, the definition for discipline is daily. So what are those things that we're doing to lead ourselves on a regular basis? And once again, simple, but not easy. Not easy at all. And so that's why we need a community. That's why we need people around us who can help us and make this happen for us. That's why we need people that can reflect back to us when we can't see ourselves. People who, when we're starting to feel a lack of confidence or even courage, who can encourage us, right? Give us some of their courage. And people who can help us as we track daily those things that we've promised ourselves that we're going to do. So what's the flow of lifelong leaders? You're thinking, what's my investment going to be in this thing? And so the investment is I don't need more content in my life. I can get for the most part, if you have a question, you can Google it. All right. That's so true. If you need information on leadership, there is so much stuff on there. So I am more interested in transformation than I am simply information, right? Those things are going to help us. So here's kind of the initial flow I see. On a monthly basis, I'm going to set a theme out there, a theme for what the month is going to be like. And for the month of March, it's going to be self-awareness. Everything, hopefully, that we're putting together and working toward in this, it's around the idea of becoming more aware of who we are. And once a month, there's going to be a community call like this. And I'm going to figure out the bugs behind this thing so that everybody can kind of be on the community call, and it'll be great and a lot more interactive. So I look forward to that. So that's on a monthly level. Every month there's going to be a theme, one community call, okay? On a weekly level, there's a couple pieces that I'm going to add in every week. The first one is a poll. If you joined in, you already saw there's a poll for this week, right? I asked you which one out of the awareness and confidence and discipline do you struggle with the most? And the second piece of information is going to be kind of an exercise or lab that deals with the theme, just a simple exercise that we could practice, that we could try, that we can respond to each other and let each other know how we're doing. So those are really the only two pieces of of content in a sense that I'm thinking about putting out in the flow of lifelong leaders. There'll be other things, but and then on a daily basis, how often should you engage? You don't have to engage every day. What I'm saying, when you do come online, when you do pull up lifelong leaders, then my encouragement to you is you look what other people have written, you respond, you have a conversation around that. We can dialogue and talk about those things. And especially, I would say, as you're engaged in this community, that you're looking for other people that you can invite to be a part of what we're doing here. And if you see somebody new pop up, you just drop in and say, hey, welcome. It's great to meet you. Thanks for being here. That's all part of great hospitality. And that's really the commitment level for lifelong leaders, especially starting off. So that a month, weekly, daily, and that's the flow. I don't want this to be an overwhelming thing. We've got so many other things we can be doing, but if we could take maybe 10 or 15 minutes out of the time that we would normally spend on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or whatever, or if you are an early adopter and you're on TikTok, then and use it toward this, I think that's a great use of our time. All right. So what are my goals for lifelong leaders? I wrote this in my profile, but I just want to share because I am seriously a person who is always thinking about navigating toward what's next. So I've got some goals for this community, and I want our community to work toward these things. So here's my first goal is I would love to get 100 new members by April 1st. At the end of this month, that we could have 100 people that are here in Lifelong Leaders that are engaging and doing that. I think that's incredibly doable. If we had everybody who's a part of Lifelong Leaders right now invited, 2.5 people, we would probably be there. We'd be at 100. Okay. So the second goal is I'm looking for 10 moderators who can help me with engagement. We've already got a couple, and you'll see them. Amanda and David are in there, and man, they're awesome. David is my brother from down under. I mean, he's my mate, and I totally butchered that right there, David. I'm sorry. But he's engaged. In fact, he's riding the train right now because his life is a crazy time zone. But I don't want 10 people in the next couple of months who can be, take some responsibility in getting people engaged. Thirdly, if you notice on the menu, there's a thing that says cohorts. Well, we'll be creating a 4-week module called The Life You Lead, which will take people through kind of some very practical exercises dealing with awareness, confidence, and discipline. And so that'll be a little bit more intensive for those that want that a little more intensive thing. And it'll be 4 weeks, and it'll be part of that cohort. And my goal is to have 3 cohorts do that by June 1st. Okay. Fourthly, I am all about finding the collective brain power. And so my goal is, as we grow past 100 in those things, to find a small group of people who are very interested in taking their lives into crazy next level stuff and create a mastermind group that we can put together that will meet maybe on a once a month, once every other month basis, and really hone each other in. The masterminds that I've been a part of have been life changing. I want to create one here with lifelong leaders. And finally, there's a couple courses that I have created, and I want to introduce those later on, but have a cohort go through some online courses that's later on. And as we get into summer, these are some of the goals, that the tools and resources are here for our community, and that we're learning and we're growing. And that's my hope, is finding a way. As I created this community, my goal was, how can I serve people, especially those who are frustrated that their leadership isn't as effective as they want it to be. They're not able to connect with the people that they're leading. They're finding their own life, that they're drifting, and they're looking for what kind of that next thing is, and they can't seem to find the motivation or the confidence to do that. I gotta tell you, I've been in all of those spots, and every single time when I have been at the depths, and a year ago, I was in a dark place. Pulled me. It was leadership that pulled me out. It's like, Tim, don't be entitled. Don't be a whiner. Don't look for pity. You got to take responsibility for your life, and you've got to figure this out. And by the grace of God, I began to take the steps to lead myself and focus my energy, right, and begin to make progress and make some new goals. And And here I am, developed this community. It's like a gift. So you're a gift. Just know that today. You are a gift. All right. So last slide for our deal here, and that's it. I've got a giveaway for our live listeners, and this is what I want you to do. I would love to talk to you. I'd love for us to chat, and you rent my brain for 30 minutes for free. Now that sounds cheesy, but here it is. Maybe you've got something that you're struggling with, something that a person that you're trying to work with or through. Maybe you've got an issue. Maybe you're just not clear on what you want in life. I would love to spend 30 minutes with you on the phone and just talk with you about that. And I do personal coaching, but that's not necessarily what this is about. This is about what can another person, just with a more objective perspective, help you to accomplish. Okay. And so if you're interested in doing that, I just simply want you to send me an email, tim@timmilburn.com, which sounds so redundant, but it's easy. tim@timmilburn.com, and just go, I want to rent your brain. And when you do that, then we'll set up a time. We'll get on the phone. It'll be great. It'll be great to do that. But I'm so excited. This launch is going to be recorded and put on the website, except for this part right here about giveaway to live listeners. So I know a couple of you are listening just by audio only. And so again, the email address is tim@timmilburn.com. And I so appreciate that. I cannot wait for what we're going to become. And some of that I won't even know until we do it. So I am grateful for you. Thank you for jumping in this week. And I will chat with you more on the site, in the community. Have a super day. Go out there, keep navigating. All right. That's my encouragement. Okay. Take care. Have a great day. I will talk to you later. I am ending this. Bye for now.